What makes hiking in the Appalachian Mountains different? My name is Maddie and welcome to Beer and Beautiful Places, a channel all about outdoor adventure. I've hiked or done some sort of outdoor activity in 49 out of 50 states and done a handful of hikes abroad. I've hiked 2,000 miles along the Appalachian Trail, and I spend a lot of time in Red River Gorge, Kentucky, which is considered the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. By the way, I'm going to use both pronunciations in this video. I know some people really want you to use their own pronunciation, but it's pronounced both ways throughout the mountain range, so I'm going to use both ways in this video to show respect for everyone. I'm going to start with the most sensational reason this mountain range is different and then go into the more practical things, because I have a feeling that's what most people might be searching for when they click on this video. There is some folklore about the Appalachian Mountains that includes cryptids, supernatural events. They say if you're out in the woods in Appalachia and you think you heard something, no you didn't. You heard someone call your name? No you did not. You never go out after dark. Don't open your door, and don't even open your curtains on your windows. Keep those drawn. Now, do I believe that's real? Honestly, anything could happen. It is a less populated area, so it makes sense that maybe enough people haven't wandered across the same thing to make it a known discovery. There's less cell service and other things that makes it less accessible to the rest of the world. So who knows? But I do notice that all of these sorts of rules get who's ever listening to them to do something you would want a kid to do. You know, like they say, if you think you heard something, no you didn't. Well, you probably don't want your kid to go wander off into the woods. They say don't go out at night. You probably don't want your kid wandering off, or when they're a teenager, you don't want them sneaking out. So could that be a coincidence and the legends are very much real? It could be. I just noticed those two things coincide. There's also apparently a lot of underground caves in the region. So when they say people go missing, it would make sense that maybe someone was just wandering out, stepped on what they thought was leaves and sticks, but it turned out under the leaves and sticks there was a hole opening to the cave and they just fell in and couldn't get out. Maybe they wandered into a cave, got lost, and couldn't wander their way back out. Plus, the way that this region looks could be considered creepy. There is a lot of fog and twisty trees. And where else do you see that stuff? In scary movies. What if we just think it looks scary because our brains recognize this is the kind of imagery we see in scary movies and things where you're supposed to be scared. It's not actually something you have to be scared of. You know, fog is just water vapor, like a cloud, but it's on the ground. And different species of trees can grow all sorts of ways. Again, who knows? Anything could be true. All I know is that I've slept outside in Appalachia over 100 nights and nothing ever happened to me that I know of. Maybe something did happen and the past 2 years of my life have been a dream. By the way, if anyone has any stories out in the Appalachian Mountains, maybe you heard something or saw something creepy, let me know. If I get enough stories, I'd like to put them together for a little Halloween special. I'm thinking because this is an outdoor channel, maybe it should be people going on hikes and stuff as opposed to just anyone out there. But that being said, I don't want to be exclusive to anyone, so just tell me all the stories you got. So moving on from the folklore and the vibes of the region, let's get to more practical stuff that would affect hiking. The whole range can be very steep and challenging to hike in, especially if you're coming from somewhere flatter. You would think, oh, the highest point in the Appalachians, that's Mount Mitchell, that's over 600 feet, whereas there's a lot of places out west that are over 14,000 feet, so that's double the size. Those thousands of feet, that can't be nothing. But that is not the case. The appearance is definitely rounder and looks gentler, but that's just because they're very old and they've worn down. Did you know that the Appalachian Mountains were formed on the continent of Pangaea? Isn't that crazy? A lot of the trails were built a long time ago before people really thought about how hard it would be on your body or erosion. So for example, if you see a trail zigzagging, that's called switchbacks. That's so the water doesn't run directly downhill. And it's also a lot easier to walk up and down. And I was surprised when I did the AT how rocky it can be. There was a lot of times when I wasn't Just walking, normally I was climbing with my pack on, so it was very difficult. In a lot of mountain ranges out west, trees stop growing after a certain point in the elevation. That's called the tree line. In the Appalachian Mountains, there's not many times you're above a tree line, so you're kind of surrounded. There's not many views, although there is sometimes balds, which means grasses or shrubs growing close together instead of trees, or fields or rocky outcrops where you might be able to see a view. The Appalachians are also very rainy. So rainy, in fact, they're considered a temperate rainforest. This means a few things for your hike, including 1, biodiversity. There's a lot more different species of animals and plants you might be able to see. 2, there's going to be some fog, like I talked about before. I think fog is beautiful. I think it looks like you're in a magical storybook. 3, you can expect more rain, more humidity, or both. Just some different weather conditions to prepare for. And 4, according to L&T principles, you can actually bury your toilet paper as long as it's 6 inches deep. Just don't get used to doing that and then start doing that where you're not supposed to. If you enjoyed this video and like hearing about hiking, camping, paddleboarding, other outdoor adventures, maybe consider subscribing to this channel. I post videos like this all the time. Stay safe out there and happy hiking.